So, before you write your first argumentative essay, we're going to look at the type of article that you might read before actually writing that essay. Usually, these articles will try to give you some information about the topic so that you can begin to form your own opinion. And usually, the article will give you some evidence that you could possibly use within the paper. The article that we're going to read today is called And Baby Makes a Cell Phone Call. And this was adapted from an article in the Los Angeles Times newspaper. And let's go ahead and begin. It says, have you ever seen a 6-year-old use an iPhone? They're pretty good at it. A new study helps explain how this happens. Most children have been using smartphones and digital tablets practically since birth. More than one-third of parents who answered a recent survey said their children had touched or scrolled a screen before they had celebrated their first birthday. Another 33% of parents said their kids had done so when they were 1 year old. Only 2% of the parents said they had waited until their children were 4 to introduce them to the touchscreen. Born users will, so to speak. We're not talking about children of technology experts either. The families that were interviewed live in an inner-city, low-income part of Philadelphia. Many of the infants and toddlers may have been poking randomly at their digital screens. However, according to their parents, at least some of them knew what they were doing. 15% of the children had used an app before they turned 1, and 24% had called someone, the researchers reported. The most common age to start using apps was 2. Likewise, more than one-third of the kids started playing video games when they were 2. If the children enjoyed playing with the digital devices, the parents seemed to like it too. Nearly two-thirds of the parents said they used the devices to calm their children, and 29% said they used them to get their children to sleep. More screen time than thought. The devices also entertained kids while their parents did chores around the house or ran errands. The American Academy of Pediatrics is an association of children's doctors. It says that children should avoid screens until they turn 2. However, most parents said they never discuss screen time with their children's doctors. The results of the survey appeared to surprise the researchers from Philadelphia's Einstein Medical Center who did the study. We didn't expect to see children using the devices from the age of 6 months, said Dr. Hilda Kabali, a pediatrics resident who led the study. Some of the children were using the screen for as long as 30 minutes. So again, that's the type of article you might read before writing an argumentative essay. You're also usually going to be given some type of question to look at to know what you're going to be writing for the prompt. The question for this article says, should children have screen time before the age of 2? I want you to think about that question a little bit, and we're going to do some exercises with it before we move on to actually writing an argumentative essay about this. Let's briefly break down some of the key things that this article says. First off, it establishes the fact that very young kids are using devices at a very young age. It says, have you ever seen a 6-year-old use an iPhone? Most of you who know people who have really young kids, or if you have younger brothers or sisters, have seen this happen before. It says most children have been using smartphones and digital tablets practically since birth. Then it gives you some statistics. It says that one-third of parents who answered a recent survey said their children had touched or scrolled a screen before they had celebrated their first birthday. So kids who are younger than 1 year old, a lot of them are playing with devices. It says another 33% of parents said they had done so when they were 1 year old. So most kids around the age of 1 seem to be getting some access to devices. It says only 2% of parents said they waited until their children were 4 to introduce them to the touchscreen. Continuing on, it says 15% of the children had used an app before they turned 1, and 24% had called someone. The most common age to start using apps was 2. More than one-third of the kids started playing video games when they were 2. Basically, what this article does for the first part is explain that yes, a huge amount of very young kids are using devices. Then it goes on to kind of give both of the sides. It says parents seem to like when their kids use devices. Nearly two-thirds of the parents said they use the devices to calm their children, and 29% said they use them to get their children to sleep. Then it gives the other side. Basically, doctors say that kids should not use screens before they turn 2 years old. Um, Doctors are concerned. It says some of the children were using the screen for as long as 30 minutes. Now, while this article doesn't go into great detail, it does give at least some preview of what the two sides are thinking. Parents like the idea of devices because they can calm children, they can help them go to sleep, they can distract them when they're upset, things like that. Doctors seem to think that it's a bad idea. While it doesn't really go into why the doctors think this is a particularly bad idea, you're at least getting two sides of the opinion. Once we've read the article, we need to do two things pretty much immediately before we start writing or even thinking of writing. First, we need to decide what our opinion is. And second, we need to start looking for evidence within the article to support that opinion. Now, we'll get a lot deeper into it as we go through our argumentative writing lessons, but this is a great place to start. And if you start with these two things, then you should be well on your way to beginning to write that argumentative essay. Good luck.